Hey everyone, this is Tracy with Color Me This. We're on episode 410, I believe, and today is my March haul video, and I have decided to break it up. I only bought a few supplies. In March, I was traveling and have been really busy with the kitten, so one of the items I've actually used a number of times, and I prepared some documentation that I would like to share with you. So this is going to be a dedicated Languo gel pen. You see the birds fighting up the doves. Oh my gosh, so it's constant entertainment. Let's see if we have any squirrels. At any given time, we might have doves and squirrels, just squirrels. We have doves and squirrels right now. And so there's just constant shenanigans going on all day long and all night long. So anyhow, the whole reason why I am sharing my view out my window is to somewhat reveal my cleanish desk, and there's a Languo gel pen sitting there. On my desk, I have my tray of pen goodness, and some of the supplies are related to crafting, paper crafting, and the rest of the supplies are all coloring, mostly shimmer pens, white gel pens, and a couple of black pens. So the Languos, I own 17 of 18 sets. I have prepared and loaded up on my coffee shop a shopping guide as well as an organization guide that I used for myself because I was very confused. You'll see some of my chicken scratching, and I decided I really needed to make it clear for myself. I was missing one set and I could not figure out what it was, and I will share with you what that set is. It is coming. I'm not sure when it will get here. I was holding off on doing this as an actual detailed walkthrough of the pens, and decided that I would just forego my final set of swatches that I haven't finished yet, and I would also go ahead and do it without having the final set. And it'll make more sense to you once I share with you what that is. Okay, so over here and we're too dark. Let me brighten it up so you can see. Which way are we going? There we go. Those are my Languos. They were up vertical across the room, and I have turned them on their side because they are a pen, and typically pens need to lay on their side. I know that Sharpies specify the felt tip type markers that you need to put them tipped down. So until I hear otherwise, I'm putting them horizontally. I also have dedicated a pencil case. It's a 3-slot pencil case that should hold 3 or 4 per slot. They'll be way too tiny to put in a single pencil slot, and I don't think two would fit. So this one case, I have to do some moving of what's in there out of there first. So in the meantime, this is where they sit, and I have some of what I call paper pumpkin for Stampin' Up in the back, and then a sundry cups full of the rest of my coloring and crafting supplies that do normally sit on my desk. But now that I have a kitten, everything has to stay off the table. Ironically, he does not bother. Oh, and now we have to go the other direction. He does not bother this stuff, really. He will chew on pencils. So whenever I'm working with pencils, I have my Lazy Susan out, and the pencils either go right back in the case or they get put up behind me up tall where he can't reach. So I am going to reach in here and grab my Languo box, my organization box. So when they're stored on their sides in the cabinet, I do have access to the numbers, and I will share with you the downloadable that will help me choose which number I want. If I'm not really sure, I can bring the case out, set it up vertically, and use these caps to hone in on what colors I might want to use. Here's a set, and here's a set that have some reds, and so I might pull these two out, and then from there go digging for which exact color that I want. Every box has had the lid cut off. The lid is kind of a cumbersome, typical plastic case lid. And on this set of 4 that I will talk about later, I have not taken off the cap or the lids. Each pen, we'll move this aside, has on it the name of the box, which I will share all 18 names in a moment, some Chinese characters, the name Languo, a number, which is that number that you see that I printed out on my Brother Label Maker, 0558, and F for fine tip. So each pen has the set number that it came from. So eventually when I do put these in a case, I can choose to put them in color family order, or I can leave them in groups of 9 in the case by the set number. I'm not sure yet which way I'm going to go. And here is a box of a set of pens that I bought at the very beginning that you can see they have no color caps. The image in the advertising for these showed a color cap, and it's like, you can tell it's the same pen, but the Han Chang company chose not to have the cap put on the top of their markers, saving them money. And I did pay a tiny bit less, but probably not enough money to make it worth it, because they don't have any unique identifier. So this Mirandi is a set name on multiple boxes, and there's no way to identify which Mirandi it came from. And that was important to me, so I immediately abandoned going with other brands and decided, yes, I am sticking with Languo, and there is a reason why we stick with Languo, so that I can do the organization the way I need to do. I haven't even analyzed beyond the fact that the Han Chang has different labeling that doesn't work for me. I haven't even compared color to color to see if the 4 different Mirandis have the same color of pens. They could be white labeled for all I know, and they could actually be the same exact pens. I just choose to do the Languo labeling for my organization. Okay, so from there, we are going to take a peek at my organization sheets. This particular sheet I created because I owned 17 of the 18 sets and struggled with trying to figure out what was the missing set. So I found a marketing page on Temu where they were selling all 18 sets as a bundle, which is now, I see quite a bit of that. When I was first purchasing these, they were just individuals, and you picked from a list, a drop-down list, which set you wanted, but you didn't have a choice of getting all of them at once. Now you can buy all 18 of them, which would have made my shopping experience so much less exciting. All right, so this marketing material is not sorted by that number, 0558, in this case of the blue style set, which is right here. It's also not sorted in alphabetical. I toyed about a half a second with cutting out this marketing image into 18 little images and reorganizing them, but I decided I didn't really need to go to that level. So when you look at the numbers in order, there are 2 gaps. Let's see if I can re-show you my particular labeling. Can I get them all in while it's zoomed? Yep. All right. On the left is 551, and it goes to 569. And there's a gap at 550, between 556 and 558, so I am missing 557. and I am missing 562. So from there, I knew which two I was missing, but I did not know those numbers are not on any of the sales websites, AliExpress, Amazon, or Temu. So through process of elimination of this image, I was able to determine which one I was missing. So let's go over the whole set of 18. There are 3 boxes that have the same name and no subname. We have color of skin, highlight, and 4 of what's called Mirandy. So in the case of color of skin, I have seen the subname as V1 and V2. So color of skin, I own 569, which happens to be version 2. It's the higher set number. Highlight has 2 different ones, and they are so completely different, nobody has really named them. They might have named them, you know, whatever you would call silver, gold, and white versus the neon highlighter pen colors. Mirandy is a little more tricky. So Mirandy has a subname, and they're inconsistent. This is an example of this particular set I've seen called Vintage. I've seen it called Retro, and I've seen it called Retro Bloom. So on my organization sheet that is available up on my coffee shop, Mirandy, Vintage, Retro, and Retro Bloom, Salty, Salty, Salt, Salty, and Breeze Tone, Nordic, and Sweet. Those are the 4 different Mirandy sets. Each of the Mirandy cases is a different color, and that color is consistent. I even found that the Han Cheng Mirandy boxes match so closely. And I don't know who's the knockoff. Is Languo the knockoff, or is Han Cheng the knockoff? Because here's how close they are. And the marketing material on the Han Cheng version showed the caps having the colors. They even, I believe, had on the pens the number just like the Languos, and yet they came unidentified as to which set they are. So, ironically also, on the back of these, all of the Languos have model and batch number, and 554 is likely the batch number, 554, but I'm not sure. All I know is that number that's on the side of the box that I got from every single pen, all 9 pens have 554, is also identified on the back. And Han Cheng has a couple of different numbers, but none of them, like this is D0883, or D letter O possibly. And here is D letter O 884, but the pens don't have that number. I could have maybe dealt with no caps as long as the numbers were on the pens. But in the end, I decided that their marketing materials were misleading, and I did get a refund. So, all 18 sets with all of their subnames, if there are any subnames needed. I am waiting for Color of Skin 1, and that will give me my 18th set. These are all the fine points. You will now start to see that they have plus and shiny, I think. And there are just a few sets coming on that are shiny, which means glittery, and then a 1 0.0 nib. These nibs are 0.5. I've also seen them advertised as 0.6, but they are a very fine point. I will now share with you some samples. I have colored 3 different pages. All 3 of these pages are daily colors that you can go and watch at your leisure. You can participate in. Let's go through all 3 of them. I am actually going to show it to you sideways. The very first image, I did these in a certain order, practicing various usages. I'm going to go ahead and turn on a light. So the tulips. The tulips, I demonstrated 2 different ways of using the Languos. The tulips themselves are actually blended. You can watch a demo, you can see me color a whole bunch of these tulips on video. So I actually used them like mixing paint on the tulips themselves, and then the stems I layered. I used light, I had 4 greens and 4 of the tulip tones from yellow to red, yellow to orange to red. And so the stems are layering and the tulips demonstrated blending. The second, third, and fourth images were all colored pencil. And they all used Derwent drawing products. The lightest color of flowers I colored with Derwent drawing, which is a very muted color palette. And then I used yellow to dark cinnamon. And you can see little bits of the Languo pen used to get rid of the lines, the black lines. Everywhere there were black lines. And then I also used greens. On the bottom 2 images, which I actually colored together, the top half is done with a wet medium, the Derwent Inktense, and the bottom, Derwent Lightfast. So I was able to demonstrate these pens going over 3 distinct styles of pencil on this first page. And you can see how well they cover the black. I am not the best no-line lining person, and they still, I thought, did a very nice job for my particular needs. Somebody else might have wanted to make sure that every little teeny tiny bit of black was gone, and these would happily do that if you wanted to. I can even see that this top one here, since I did do them in at different sittings, that I was playing with different levels of, I guess, fastidiousness at coloring those lines. Because the bottom 2, down here, I was definitely not as particular at coloring the lines. And the Lightfast pencils behave very differently than the Inktense pencils do. So I thought that this page gave a really good variety of techniques being demonstrated using these gel pens. The second set of images, I had just purchased the highlight pack, and I was very excited to explore the white and the metallics, so I went ahead and also did a variety of techniques, and I used 3 more different sets of pencils. This actually is a pastel set, probably the Castle Arts. I don't have my diagram. Actually, I didn't use 3 sets. I believe this is 6 sets of pencils. So at this point, working on this page, I was becoming quite impressed with them. I did no line on the stems, and I did white dots in the background and silver on this first circle that I did not color in black. So I've at this point used 9 different sets of pencils, so I am very convinced by the end of this page that these are really good pencils. I mean, these are really good pens. Now here I mixed. I had realized that I've never used gel pens in this book, not like to color a page. And this wonderful diamond and triangle page just begged to have me get out my tan mitts. So I mixed the tan mitts with the stems, pluses, and dots using the Languo, which is a matte finer point pen, and everybody played nicely together. And again, I was very impressed with them, and they went very nicely over the black Faber-Castell Pitt pen, which they had already done nice on the other two. All three of these images all used the Pitt pen in black. So again, these are all available on Daily Color videos. I will link them for you should you choose to follow along. I then used them in a test for a set of pencils, and because of the results of that test, which I will save that for last because it is a very interesting result, I then went and pulled my set of tests that I have done for a number of pencils, doing detailed walkthroughs. I have not done all of my pencil sets. I'm getting pretty close here so we can see up close what we have. I grabbed 4. I keep all my gel pens here handy. I skipped the acrylic markers. I have 2 or 3 brands of acrylic markers. Posca's, I'm not sure if they are considered an acrylic, or I don't think they're a gel pen, but they are very popular. So I've done 4 sets. I did the Languo on the top, Jelly Roll 8, which I actually have in my hand. This is my favorite thickness of Jelly Roll. The Jelly Roll 5 I don't have as good of luck, and that is closer to the Languo, so I am very pleased with how well the Languos work as a very fine point gel pen, especially with all of the colors that you get. So we've got squiggles, lines, dots, and some solid areas on the Brutfuner squares for the Languo, which this very first one I did today. I did them really quick and let them all dry. So this is my first time we're looking at these together. They are a pen that does better if you hold them very, very lightly and just skim across the top of the paper. Same goes for putting them over the top of some sort of medium, in this case either a wax or oil pencil. So I have a nice variety of pencils, and we will see how these gel pens do over the top. The Languo I didn't do so well myself, but I do like how delicate it looks. Then we have the Jelly Roll 8. We have the Posca, which this was not my 1.0 nib. It's my fatter bullet nib. I then switched and dug out the most delicate Posca that I own. Let's see, which one is it? It is the pin type pen, 0.7. PC1MR is the one that I did not use on this page, but for all subsequent tests. And then the very bottom right there is my Signo, and it actually turned sort of pink and does not have as vibrant. The most vibrant is the Jelly Roll. And that's how my experience has gone. I use Jelly Roll the most for doing line work and doodling. So now we have Castle Arts Gold, and I'm doing a better job with the Languo. On my second test, I kept my hand light, and I think both the Jelly Roll and the Languo came out nice. And then we have a Signo looking very scratchy with the ballpoint, and I could not get it to smooth out. And then I'd already done a bunch of old tests on here, so I skipped the Posca. Now I realized, oh, I didn't do Posca on this one yet either. So here again, the Languo and the Jelly Roll look nice, and I am not fond of the Signo. It is still skipping and not coloring nicely, and that is on Crayola, which is a very dry pencil, and I would think that the Signo would have been able to color on a dry Crayola-like surface, but it did not. Now I have pulled the Pin Posca 0.7, and I am very happy with the Languo and the Jelly Roll on the Holbein pencils. I do not like how the Signo, it was skipping. I tried to restart it. I had a napkin, I had a piece of paper. It just was not a successful attempt. And then the Posca did fine, although I find that it is more translucent than opaque. This is another Holbein test. This is a test that I wanted to do because it is the Color, so the Brutfuner Square, which was my first test with red. This is the Color 180, which is made in the same factory, so their formulas are very similar. And I got to do it on blue, and I like how the color and the brightness held for both the Languo and the gel pen. I mean, the Languo and the Jelly Roll. I'm still not happy with the Signo. Ready to throw it away about now. And I thought the Posca did really well. So for those of you with the budget Color / Brutfuner pencils, all of these, well, except for the Signo, did a decent job. Marie's, this is a Chinese market set that you can only get from AliExpress or from Temu. And I was very happy with the Languo and the Jelly Roll, and not happy with the Signo at all. And I thought that the Posca actually did pretty good on this formula of pencil. It looks just as opaque. I would say that the edge, I give the edge to Jelly Roll here. Skip this because it's another. Sometimes I end up doing two tests for various whatever reasons, and I store them all here together. So now this is an interesting test because we're now talking Pablo's, which is a professional pencil, not as light fast as some other sets, and you will see that it really bled into the Languo and the Signo. The Jelly Roll held its own, stayed white, looked really good. I still like how the Languo thickness was. It's just pulled the blue, which is something to note. This is why you should test all of your mediums together and how they interact. This is a perfect example. And then the Posca did okay, but it's a little bit grayish looking. Maybe a tiny bit of bleed from the white. Ironically, way down on this sheet for the water test, these are a very water resistant pencil, highly water resistant. So I am not really sure what properties are in these gel pens that prompt the seeping of the blue into them when you can't activate the Pablos with water. Very interesting. We're on to polychromos. Everybody wants to see the polychromos, of course, and I wanted to do blue instead of the red, so I worked over here, and I was very happy with all of them. I give the edge to the Languo and the Jelly Roll. The Signo decided to work. It's the same Signo, and I'm coloring all of these within like a 20-minute period. I'm going fairly quickly, so I did not actually work really hard. When the Signo decided to skip, I just let it. I gave it one chance, and I would squiggle a little bit on a piece of paper and the napkin, and boom, I would try again. So it did pretty decent here. And then the Posca is just not as bright as the other three. Languo again, doing a nice job. Now we have Prismas. Everybody wants to know what Prismas are doing. And I didn't, at this point, I got nothing. I see a very faint white line started on the Signo. And that's right after I had a very positive experience with the polys. So, go figure. I thought that the Languo did a little bit better than the Jelly Roll on the Prisma, which is a wax-based. And so that means that the Languos do a nice job on, at this point, every formula out there. Probably. I think I have I've now sampled all of them, except for we've got the Pablo's turning blue. And then down here I did do a little bit of the Posca, and it again isn't as vibrant as the first two. Here is what started it all. I did the Woomer. They are a light fast rated budget colored pencil. They are new. I just did the walkthrough last week, and when I did it, I went ahead and demonstrated 3 sets of pencils. I didn't even have the Signo at the time. And look at how blue the Languo got, just like the Pablos. Jelly Roll held its own, and the Posca did a good job. This is actually the fatter Posca. At the time, I had the fatter bullet floating around. I didn't have my metal pin type 0.7. So that is good to know about the Languos. I do have the idea that now, since these are my first non-glitter color gel pens that I want to use for no-line coloring, which means you would put them over the top, I want to go ahead and add another practice with the blue and try some colors. So we'll see. I just didn't want to delay this video any longer, so I thought I'm going to use what I have and go from there. I want to share with you pricing. Here is my purchasing scratch notes that then got so confusing. I decided I absolutely had to do that marketing image and then go through and label what was what. Okay, my little thing is okay. So I initially bought, I thought I bought 11, but it looks like I bought 12 sets. The first 4 were 4 individual Mirandis that I bought as a set, not knowing anything, and they ended up being the knockoff Hanchang ones. I paid $10. They were, at the time, a little over $1 cheaper than buying the Languo individuals. And I thought, what the heck? I'll give it a try. Then you can see that I was analyzing prices, and I wish I would have wrote the date when I bought the first 12. But I was able to go through on Temu and find lower and lower prices the more I dug. And at the time, and still to this day, you can get 2 sets of 18. You're somewhat limited. This is on Amazon, and they're $8.88, so $4.44 a piece. So I was trying to see how low I could go. And I ended up with the first 12, circling the amount I actually ended up paying. Some of them, like I think to get to this lowest amount was quite the hunt, but it was fun. That's why today, if I can get all 18 for, I think I will share the pricing. I think it was right under $50 is the cheapest I've seen the 18, and that was about a week ago. Prices are getting pretty competitive because more people, suppliers are selling them, or distributors are selling them because of their popularity. So for round 2, I bought a couple more. I think I bought these 2 for $303 and $302, Lipstick Red and Dopamine, and then I popped in another order for Warm Yellow, and then I see that I have the highlights mixed and the highlights enamel. Those are the 2 highlights that I showed you. I went big spender and spent $370 on them, but was still pretty comfortable with what I spent. And then I did notice that you can buy 6 packs of gold, silver, and white, 3 separate 6 packs for $3.61. And I thought that for starting out with the highlights, having not even tried the white before, I would just get the 9 set where you get 3 of each for $3.70. Somewhere in there I found a set of 6 called Sketch, which I am still, I thought that could be a low priority. There's the Plus and the Shiny, I think it's called Shiny, whatever their new glitters, and there are maybe another 10 subsets available. So Sketch, I didn't even write down the pricing for it, but if I am going to explore the Plus, which is a 1.0 millimeter nib, and the glitter ones, I might look at the Sketch, which are a set of darks, 6 of them. And then through the process of elimination, there were 2 gaps on the set of 18. Oh, yes. So the gap was 557, and then I do not know what 562 is. Here's 563 Sweet Pink and Highlight 561. So in the marketing materials on any of the websites that I've seen them, these numbers do not show up. They're on the pens, but they are not part of the marketing materials. So it's very difficult. I don't even know, when I get color of skin, there's a remote possibility it won't be 557. And if that is the case, I will figure out what number it is, and I will update this sheet on the coffee shop link for you guys. But it'll be an adventure to see what we end up with. So I told you that the 18 right now is around 50 bucks, and I've circled all of the prices I paid. I ended up going back after rejecting the Han Changs for the reasons that I mentioned. So I got my money back, $10.01, and the price went up from $11.29 was my prices when I first was looking. Then these came and I rejected them. No, I could no longer pay the prices that I saw because it had changed. So I ended up spending a little bit more, and I spent $11.43 on reordering the Languo brand Mirandis. And at the very bottom, I added everything up and I paid $47.91. So if I decide that I like these well enough and I'm worried about prices going up, would I run around and try to refind all 18 of these? Or would I just pay what we're on 49 something and get all 18? I think I would probably just go and get a backup set of all 18 for the $49. So love these pencils. I think that they are, I keep saying pencils. Love these gel pens. I think they are well worth it if you like to do either no line coloring, doodling of your own, paper crafting. They are a very multi-purpose supply, and I very easily justified them and have used them a ton since I have gotten them. So if I have missed anything in this review, whether it's a question that you have or an observation because you already own them, or maybe you don't like something about them, please comment so that we all can be informed to help everyone's purchasing decisions. I forgot one thing. So I'm a swatcher. You probably already noticed some swatches. The strategy for my swatching, I am preparing for when I take them out of these cases. I do want, just like the Tan Mitt gel pens, I have a ring, a small ring, and I already have the ring for these, and I'm going to hang these from the ring so that it is easy for me to flip through, whether I have these grouped by number or by color family. I will be able to pick through and find the color that I want to use very easily. If I see two greens that look fairly close together, I want to be able to compare them so that I can see between these two greens that yes, they are different. And so far I haven't found any that are the same. So they'll be on a ring, and then they can live in the case, or they can live in this box until such a time that I get to moving everything out of the case that I have for them. In the meantime, they just sit here beside me in this box, easy for me to paw through and get what I need. So I like that there's a good interim solution that does work. And I think I have swatched like 9 different sheets of these. And here is I've cut them all, and I have put them in each of the boxes so that I can easily tell which ones have been swatched. I just didn't want to delay this video any longer. On that note, do all of the YouTube things. Like, share, comment, consider subscribing. Thank you so much for joining me today, and welcome back if you are returning. Our next video is likely going to be a daily color. I also have 2 other supplies that I will just go ahead and do individual videos for. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you at the next one.